Buzz.
All right. Party people in the place to be, vandals, and whatever else might be lurking out there in the darkness. This is a brand new episode of the Pink Buzz. We are going to be talking about a really, really neat independent I guess you could say that they're a digital comic label because, I mean, Image does put out some physicals, but they're mostly digital, right, Joe? You'd call them that?
Yeah, they're pretty much all digital, unless, like you say, an independent publisher picks them up. Like, I think Image picked up did Barrier come out as a physical copy, and Private Eye, as well as I think Friday was just in the last solicits from the previews, so that'll be coming out probably in October from Image as well.
We, of course, are talking about Panel Syndicate. Really, really neat studio. I love the way they do business. We'll get into that after we do our checkup. Goose, what have you been up to this wonderful week, if anything? Because I know you've been busy, kid.
No. Actually, I was able to read a little bit after work this week. We were on Brian K. Vaughan and Panel Syndicate, and so I started reading Pride of Baghdad again because obviously I just want to bawl my eyes out. Plus it seems kind of relevant with things going on, but I won't get into that because we're not a political podcast. However, I was reading that. Also, I went and started reading some of the Judd Winnick Detective Comics run when he was doing Under the Red Hood, when they brought back Jason Todd, which is funny because like there's certain groups of people who don't remember that Judd Winnick got his start doing The Real World from MTV, and I was just barely old enough to remember like my mom and dad watching The Real World because they were still like in their 20s when that came out, and they're in their 50s now. So so I was reading that, and I really, really enjoyed that run. I like when Batman gets to be a detective. I also started reading Crisis on Infinite Earths. It's got a lot of tie-ins, and that's something that kind of pushes me away. But apparently, all the tie-ins are relevant. I'm about a quarter of the way through it. It's one of those books that you always hear about that I never really read, and so now
I can't believe that there's like a DC thing that I've read that you haven't yet. That's kind of neat bragging rights for me.
Well, I mean, it's I never really got into a lot of the Crisis stuff. And there's so many different Crisis, but I read Heroes in Crisis last week before I started work. I read it last weekend, and that's another one I can put on my check-in. That book got a lot of hate, and it was mostly from Wally West douches. But that book is so good, man. Tom King gets some hate, and he may deserve it from his Rorschach thing, which I wasn't a fan of. But I'm not a fan of most non-Alan Moore Watchmen stuff. But Heroes in Crisis was something special, man. I like any story that has Booster Gold in it, but that's kind of what set me down the path of going through the crises. So yeah, I've been reading a lot of DC this week, and then
I gotta put a hard sell if you haven't read it, man. Crisis on Two Earths, so good. It's another one of those classics everyone will tell you to read for good reasons, man. It's actually like DC gold, honestly. It's
Well, good. Well, and that's, like I said, a lot of people hated Heroes in Crisis, but any story that has Booster Gold as like one of the main protagonists, I'm always gonna love, because he thinks of himself as a failure, and like he's not, but he is one of those wonky fucking characters, and so it was good to see him get a lot of love in that and be the hero, and so yeah, that's what I've been reading. What about you guys?
Joey, what's your check-in for this week, man?
I read a few books. I read Gambizi, The Dragon Incident. That's from Aftershock. It's basically kind of like if one of the dragons from Game of Thrones met up with some characters from The Sopranos kind of premise.
Nice.
It's dragons in the New Age kind of.
With mobsters?
Yeah, like there used to be dragons back in the day, and they go into hibernation, and then one of them shows up, or they sporadically show up throughout the world. It's like so far in the story, it's not uncommon that there are dragon sightings every once in a while on occasion. And this one just happens to show up in Brooklyn or the Bronx or some shit like that. And there's this one family of mobsters or whatever. I'm not even sure if it's in Brooklyn or the Bronx. I can't remember. The name of the town was... I don't remember the name of the town, but anyway, basically that's what it is. Like dragons meet the Sopranos. So the first issue was pretty fun. I mean, I definitely recommend to pick up the first issue, maybe the second, see how it goes, because it's definitely pretty interesting. The premise is pretty fun. The writer was James Patrick. Art and colors were done by Marco Lucati, and the lettering was Raphael Deering.
Cool. Yeah. I love Aftershock, and that premise sounds great. So thanks for bringing that up.
The logo design is Mark Foley. All right. After that, I picked up some Dark Horse books, or one Dark Horse book, The Unbelievable Unteens. That's the new Black Hammer book by Jeff Lemire and Tyler Crook. I love Tyler Crook, so right there I was sold. Him doing another Black Hammer book, because he also did the Colonel Weird. I think it was a 4 or 5 issue solo book that dives into each character a little bit. They did a few of those over the past winter and spring, and it's so far the first issue is really, really cool. I mean, if you like Black Hammer, you like Lemire's Black Hammer world, pick it up. It's pretty good, solid first issue.
How X-Men-y is it? Is it pretty X-Men-esque? Because it kind of looked X-Men-ish.
Yeah, it deals with kind of these people don't remember they were part of a team that's kind of like X-Men-like. So it's kind of that one of the characters remembers, and he's trying to make this other character remember what happened in their past. And it goes back and forth, and the art style changes when it goes to like the past. It goes into more of a straight up cartoon style, like a comic style, as opposed to what everyone knows Tyler Crook from nowadays is more like his painterly type stuff. Like the present stage is like in his regular style, and when they do the back flashes, it's more of like an old school like 80s 90s comic style.
Looks like Ed Pixar's Grand Design kind of. I love that type of art.
Yeah, so far pretty good. Like I got 2 covers. I got the one that's in the style of the flashbacks with the retro coloring, and I got the regular cover, which is pretty cool too, because you see the 2 characters that are the subject of the first issue. Like this sided in the middle, you probably can't see on the picture, is kind of a silhouetted page of the backflash. So it's kind of cool how they juxtapose the styles and everything in the cover, which was pretty cool. Another book I read was called Cinnamon. This book was a fucking blast, man. This book is it's a Behemoth book. It's done by Victoria Douglas. She does everything: art, colors, writing, lettering, everything. Like, this is a pure cartoonist book. And basically, this is a book she was inspired from when she was in college. She had a cat. And so she's like, how does the cat, like, I don't know. It inspired her to write this story. And basically, this story is how she interprets how her cat sees the world around it. So it's pretty wild. Like, it goes into like these weird fantasy kind of scenarios where she thinks this is how her cat kind of sees the world and visualizes it and experiences the world. It's pretty wild. This is a really fun read. If you like offbeat, off the wall kind of comics, man, that one will definitely fix you good. And this is great. The first arc, the final issue of Silvercoin, number 5. This was really good. This wraps up the first 4 issues. It kind of puts a nice little bow on it. And this issue was also written and drawn by Michael Walsh.
Nice.
Yeah, because this is his puppy. I think this is his baby. This project was his idea.
It turned into an ongoing, didn't it? It was supposed to just originally be 5. Okay.
Yeah, and in the back, he touches on it. He names the rest of the next 5 writers will be. Well, he always does. I think he always does the last one to wrap up the arcs. So you'll have Josh Joshua Williamson, Ram V, Vita Ayala, and Matthew Rosenberg is going to be the 4 other people writing. And the first issue 6 is going to be called High Score. I think it's Joshua Williamson. Yeah, Joshua Williamson will be writing it. It's kind of like an arcade style horror type thing. So I'm definitely going to be down for that. But back to this issue. Yeah, he does pretty much everything. He has a little help with the art, I guess. Lines by himself and Gavin Fullerton, and the colors, he did colors as well with assistance by Tony Marie Griffin. So yeah, I definitely, man, if you guys haven't read this, anyone, go pick up Silver Coin. It's an awesome anthology series. It's horror, thriller, man, it's great. So if you haven't read that yet, you guys should go pick that up.
It's killer to hear that Rosie's going to get back into doing a little indie again, because I've been dying. Like, I know was homeless before he got famous, and like, you make your money at Marvel, live it up, kid. But like, it's so good to actually hear he's like actually working on a real comic book again.
Did you hear what else he's doing? Him and fucking Tyler Boss are doing a what is it called? I think how far or how much further from here, I think it's called. But not only are they releasing that solo series through Image, he's also doing deluxe editions at your comic shops where each fucking issue is going to have a deluxe 7-inch press with 2 fucking songs. And I'm real stoked. I'm going to try and get my hands on that for sure. I was going to say, I'm glad he's doing it, and I'm glad Vita Ayala's doing it. One thing I will say, though, is I haven't read too much of Josh Williamson's DC work, but he did a book through, I want to say it was Vertigo. It may have been Image. I'll have to dig through my books. And what'd you say?
Deathbeds?
Fuck yeah, dude. Deathbed.
That's a Vertigo book, one of the last ones. Yeah, good stuff.
Yeah, that's what I thought, and man, that was one of those books. It was coming out around the time I got back into reading comics, and man, that book was something special because it throws you off from the jump, and then just from 1 through 5, man, it was just super fucking epic.
Williamson's really good at horror, man. Like Ghosted, Nailbiter, epic stuff. So here he's doing an issue of Silver Coin that's gonna rock in the story because he just nails horror, in my opinion.
A Silver Coin set in an arcade, I'm guessing, because that's what it looked like, and I'm all about it.
High Score. It's called the first story of the next arc is issue 6. It's called High Score, and it's a little kid, and the pictures of a little kid in an arcade. So man, that's like, I'm sure it's gonna have an 80s vibe with like, so it should be pretty cool.
On some other news, speaking of check-ins, I did last night. I kind of got inspired and did a little short and sent it to one of my buddies and was like, "Hey, look, we had talked about doing something funny together. I was like, check this out. If you want to do some work on it, whatever. If not, it's cool too." But I did a little short. I'm calling the 40-ounce fiend about a really, really drunk superhero who uses 2 glass 40s as weapons, but like his greatest enemy is stairs. And we kind of talked it back and forth, and like I sent him kind of my idea of what I wanted the art to look like, and it was basically just pictures of like Rocky and Bullwinkle and fucking Dudley Do-Right, kind of that old like comic strip Hanna-Barbera type style. And I think I'm just going to continue to do it in short spurts, like little 5-page stories, but they'll all be just like ridiculous kind of humor where his biggest arch rival besides the stairs is Dr. O'Doul's. So it'll just be like him, falling down a flight of stairs and taking the guy out with the 40s that he happens, even though he falls down and gets crumpled all the time, like he keeps his 40s from spilling or breaking, like fucking what's his name?
So are you gonna work in beer names for like a lot of the characters? Like, is there gonna be like an Australian villain named Foster and like
yeah
Professor Hams and
I think a lot of the villains will be based more on like alternatives to alcohol, like have no fear, near beer is here, shit like that. So I mean, like I said, it's gonna be like irreverent and kind of silly and stupid, but it was something that I don't know, I'd kind of tossed around in my head for a while, and last night I just started putting it to paper. And so, like I said, my buddy Scott, I sent it to him. He's from out in California. He does some pretty good art. And like he said, he's down to play around with it. He said in his free time, he'll start jotting some shit down. Like I said, it's all going to be super short. And I think I want to keep it that way, just like almost like comic strips instead of a full book. But yeah, so I started working on that last night, and hopefully we'll see that coming to life here soon. So I'm pretty stoked about that.
Sweet, man. Thanks for letting us know. That sounds interesting. I like Dr. O'Doul's, man, because that's what beer drinkers drink when they're not drinking beer. So straight up.
Yeah. So I'm excited. But yeah, what did you read this week, Johnny?
Before we actually picked, like when we thought we were going to take the week off, I kind of started reading some noir stuff. I read the Savage Knights, that Werewolf Sin City book that Steve Niles did for TKO.
So good.
I reread that. I really enjoy it. I got back into David List's run on The Spider from Dynamite, which is like this kind of really cool horror superhero comic, a noir comic. It's so badass. So I was kind of pecking around on that before we got into all the Panel Syndicate. And then after me and Joe bought all the books, just been reading that. But I got some of my Kickstarters in, and I'm really excited about them. I got Miss Mass #1. This is about Brazilian hot chick superheroes in the cyberpunk future. Really good art. It's got a foil cover. I couldn't resist. It was like $10. It was really cheap. It's cheaper than a lot of other issues, and it's cardstock with a foil cover. So I totally backed it, and I liked it. It's a cute little book. I got issue 3 of Burn Residue from our buddy Jonathan Thompson. Really excited to read this after the show. I just got this today. And then yesterday I got Plainer Jane from Broken Face Comics issue 3, which I absolutely adore, man. Anything about a British schoolgirl assassinating people, I'm all over it. You know what I mean? That's my jam. And aside from that, I rented Snake Eyes for tonight, so I'm gonna be watching that after the show too, which I've been excited for because the trailers for that look sick. Not the world's biggest G.I. Joe fan, but I think that it should work on film. And this movie, the trailers I've seen, looks like it should actually finally take off.
Man, you were talking about getting foil covers, and Edward 40 Hands. Yes,
that's much a good one, Scorpio.
That was kind of some of the basis for him.
The Elsinore mouse. Yeah, you got to put the Elsinore mouse in there too, man. Throw in some Kinsey Brothers jokes.
Man, you were talking about foil covers, and we are going to be having him on our show next week. I showed y'all last week. I got the jump in finally, which I don't know. Speaking of Riley Grant being awesome, he dedicated this entire book to Edwin Ocasio, the comic jabroni, and even had him drawn in on one of the panels, which is what happened with him is heartbreaking. Back in January,
I remember when he passed. Yeah, the Lost in Comics guys, good friends of mine. Yeah, they told me all about him. Like, he was a great dude. He was really, really solid fella.
And he was a big supporter of Ryland's, and so Ryland dedicated the book. However, he did a kind of a not a giveaway, but he did kind of a contest where you take pictures of the books after he sends them in. And I had sent pictures of Orion since the first jump. I had sent pictures of Orion with his books, and he finally got around to sending me. He sent me a letter with it. It says, so sorry I'm behind on these. Enjoy, and thanks for all the love, with a little Banjax sketch. But you remember that Magnolia-inspired poster that I got?
Yeah.
Dude, I got the Magnolia foil fucking jump #2 cover, and Jesus, dude. I got that.
That's not foil. That's die cut, man. That's even better than foil. That's beautiful.
It's gorgeous. I got that in. I got his Weekend at Bernie's inspired Aberrant cover, and I have 2 of these now, and so I'm going to be giving one away next week when he comes on. But I have the Pop HQ or the Pop Cult HQ exclusive, the Tony Stark inspired cover. And so I'm going to be giving that away next week when Ryland is on the show. So you guys keep your eyes out and ears peeled because we're going to be giving away some comics when Ryland comes on. But that's the last thing I had to say. I couldn't. Once you said foil cover, I just got super excited to show you all that jump cover. It's goddamn gorgeous.
Well, it's really good. It's something we need to announce anyways. Yeah, we are having Ryland Grant on the show. His book Suicide Jockeys drops just a day or two before we do the episode. So he's going to talk to us all about that and the process and all the cool, neat things that make up him. And I know Goose has a ton of questions because Ryland's a huge inspiration. So yeah, it's going to be a really fun interview. Join us next week. We will have the man himself, Ryland, on the show.
And then, if I'm not mistaken, the week after that, we're going to be having another one of our favorites on the show, right? On the 8th, we should be having John Lees on the show, right?
Oh, dog. That's not until October, and I was waiting to announce that. Loose lips sink ships, man. But yeah, no. Goose let the goose out of the bag. And yeah, on October 8th, Mr. John Lees, the God King himself, the only man I'd probably ever stalk, will be on the show with us live. And he's got a bunch of new projects that he's going to be sharing with us. So that's going to be exciting because I always talk about how he needs to work more. And it looks like he's listened, or the companies have listened and put his ass to work. And good, because I need more Lees. God damn it. Like, how long are they going to make me wait for Sync 3? They said sometime this year. This year's almost over, dogs. Like, what is up? We are in August. All right. Get on that.
My bad, man. I didn't know we were keeping that under wraps.
No, it's fine. No, you're fired. But no, dude, like, it's cool. Like, we were gonna say it soon, anyways. I just was waiting for the right moment. But back into the meat and potatoes of this episode, we are going to be talking about Panel Syndicate, which is just, oh man, they're amazing. Like, Joe was like, "Hey, we should cover these guys because we were supposed to do Private Eye for our noir episode, and Goose forgot to read it. So we wanted to recover it again. And then Goose brought up Barrier in one of our conversations, and it just sparked it. Joe's like, dude, this website's really awesome. You guys should check it out, and we should cover some of these books. And then I went on and I bought one myself, and it is really so easy. You just click on the book you want. You literally name your price. You can pay them. I don't know how low it goes. I gave $3 an issue, but
I think you can actually put, well, I don't want to say it, but I think you can actually put 0 and still get the book.
Really?
But yeah, don't do
so.
So no, you literally, it goes through PayPal. It's really quick, really simple, and then you get a PDF and a CBR of whatever you are buying, and that's incredible. I don't know if they make any money off of this.
It is incredible because, you know, people who talk about comics are expensive and you can't afford it. Well, go on this site. There's some great books, great titles. Like, man, you drop $1. Give $1 for each title. Like, man, you can't get a better deal than $1. Like, at least you're giving something back. You're getting something great in return. And if you don't have much money, man, I think this is why these guys are doing it, so that comics can be enjoyed by as many people as possible around the world. Like, I mean, give as much as you can, but I mean, if you got a limited budget, like, I don't think anyone's going to throw any shade at you for dropping $1 per issue. Like, I mean, you know, like, it's worth it. Go check this out. Go check these books out, man. We're going to talk about a few of them, and let me tell you, it's top tier, man. You got some great creators here working, and they've all worked on some pretty big projects in the past, and they're bringing their talents here. So
some big names, yeah. I mean, we're not even covering all of them, but like, you got Alex DeCampi, you've got Brian K. Vaughan, you got Ed Brubaker, Donnie Cates has a project that's in production there. You know what I mean? Like, it's no joke. They have like serious talent working for them. This ain't webtoons, you know.
Bro, you got one of the greatest creators, which I think was the start behind it. BKV, man, Brian K. Vaughan, and he's pushing out some kick-ass books on there.
Well, actually, Marcos Martin, or Martin, I don't know because I think he's Spanish, actually created this site in, I think, 2016. he's the one who created it, and so he was looking for a project, a place to put it and stuff. And I think that's where he and Brian K. Vaughan kind of hooked up, and he created this place for creators that were looking for a place to bring their projects to reality. And so he set this up. It is the first DMR site, comic site. So he's the founder of it, and I think he's pretty good pals with Brian K. Vaughan and Brew Baker and all those guys. So yeah, so that's pretty cool, man, that they brought this to life, and it's still going since 2016. So that's awesome.
Okay, that is when Private Eye came out, because I remember that's when I kind of first found out about him, was with Private Eye, and I thought it was an image book to begin with, because I bought the hardcover when it came out, but then there was the little star logo too, and I kind of was aware of Panel Syndicate, but man, it wasn't until Friday came out that I really learned that they put out other stuff besides like Private Eye and Barrier, and man, I've missed out on some good stuff.
And what's also great is when you go on and to download, you have all their books are usually English, Spanish, and often in French as well. So, I mean, they're definitely catering to a large audience.
Well, I think a lot of some of their talent is even their big names are also from Europe. I know Victor Santos is Spanish. He's a big mucker over at Dark Horse. I love his work. He does Polar. He did Rashomon. He's put out a couple really solid things for Dark Horse. His book Paranoia Killer is phenomenal over at Panel Syndicate. And then also, we're going to cover the book by David Lopez, Blackhand and Ironhead, which is I guess was originally a Spanish comic, because it's been translated into English according to the credits page. So there's some really good European books coming out, which kind of cracks me up, because that was one of the first things I thought when I was looking at a lot of these, is these kind of have a Euro feel to them, and for good reason.
A lot of them are landscape. They're made long, not tall. So that's pretty cool too.
I call them widescreen comics. I love them.
Yeah.
Well, let's jump right into it, guys. I'm going to start us off with now this one is a little bit shorter because this was just a pilot book for them, which I'm really hoping we get more. And I am talking about Glacier City. And Glacier City, the best way to put it out there is it is a murder mystery, kind of fits into the noir style, but set in a very isolated town in Alaska. And so you have these really like white landscapes, and everything seems really bright, and it's beautifully done. It was written by the writer was I'm guessing that's Faber. It's Faerbar. The art was done by Mike Montagne, colors by Simon Go, and letters by Thomas Maurer. And let me tell you, it was about 50 pages for the pilot, and it really set up some. I like that it called it a pilot, because it very much was like reminiscent of a TV show. It had all these setups and all these really good action. It's set in this town that becomes completely closed off. There's some seedy underbelly to it, and it's kind of a murder mystery, and the characters are just very well done. And you've got the Buck. I keep on, hey, my mom's here. I keep on thinking about Buck, who is one of the antagonists. You see him, he's seen by one of the kind of better upstanding citizens in the town committing an assault by these guys who are trying to strong arm him. And then what do you know, that guy is involved with keeping up with the mountain, him and another guy. They're setting off avalanches, which you do because you don't want bigger avalanches in these towns. And so they set off an avalanche, and then, come to find out, the guy who witnessed Buck stab somebody at the beginning of the book, is now one of the prime suspects because Buck is dead out in the field where the avalanche happened. It's a town that you can't get into for most of the year, and when you can get in, it's through one tunnel that it's one car can go through at a time. And so like a couple of cars go through, then you got to wait half an hour until the next set comes through. And so everything is having to be sent off. They don't know exactly what killed this guy. And so it's a murder mystery. And man, it's really good. You've got characters that they're setting up these mysterious backgrounds. One of the characters grew up in the town and then moved out to LA after his father passed away. And now he can't go back. And towards the end of the book, some of the characters from his past life in Los Angeles come back, and it ends with him getting just murked in the face by this pretty beautiful woman. But it's really good. You got the sheriff in the town who has these 3 mysterious bullet wounds on his back. And the whole thing is just really, really well done. I was a little upset when it got to the end. I think that'll be, if you hear any complaints from us during this episode, it'll be that we want more, and we want more now, because it's kind of the same way with some of the other books. But when it ended, I did not want it to. I'm really interested to see where it goes. At the back of the book, the writer Jay Faber talks about how him and his wife grew up on the East Coast, and now they're living out in California. And the weird thing to them is that winters don't feel like winters. You know, it's great that you can walk around on Christmas Day in shorts and a t-shirt, but it's just not winter. So they decided a few years ago to start traveling around during the holidays. And one of their first trips was up to this town in Alaska. And then they didn't have much to do around there, so they went and checked out this little town that some of the locals had told them about. And it was kind of the same thing. They had to drive through this small tunnel that used to be a train tunnel, but got converted to allow cars through. It's super narrow. They showed pictures of it in the back of the book. And he said once he got to the town, there's nothing going on there. It's kind of dead. It's real pretty and very scenic, he said. But once him and his wife were there, he just started fumbling around with this idea in his head. And once he got back, he said, you know, he kind of ruminated on it for a while and then just put it into action. And the art is very well done. It's very well paced. And like I said, guys, my only problem is that I don't have more of it now. What did you fellas think about it?
Well, like you said, it's a good thing they called it a pilot, because it opens up like an action movie or like or a really good TV show. Like you just get this really great action set piece set on the ice with the ice fisherman, and like he tackles the guy through, and like they get pulled out by a guy on a snowmobile, and it just was pulse pounding from the get go. But like the art is just really well done. The fight was really, really well drawn. It actually looked like you were like looking at a film, you know, stills, because it just rocked. And yeah, I really, really liked the setup. I like you said, like they really did a good job of making you feel isolated and cold in this book, which is weird because it's not as kind of dark and snowy like some of the other things we'll be talking about that also give this feeling. But even with the bright and colorful artwork, this book really gives off this atmosphere of like, dude, this place is, you know, dark and cold, even though it doesn't look like it right now.
Well, it had a lot of those same vibes that you would get, not in the sense of the horror from 30 Days of Night, but it really has that same atmosphere where, you know, they're both set in Alaska. They're both pretty isolated. And I'm glad you brought up that opening fight sequence, because you want to talk about pulse pounding. When he tackles him through the ice and then he comes up and he's sitting there and he's fucking beaten on the ice. And I was just, dude, that, like, I don't have a big fear of drowning like some people do, but I do have a fear of being trapped under the ice. And actually all that, not even the ice, but trapped under the water and not being able to come up. And I honestly think it's from watching Carrie 2 when I was super young, and she like pulls the film cover over the pool, and then I think she like stabs that guy or whatever. But no, dude, it was pulse pounding. And then, you know, he's telling the guy, no, I don't.
You're like the only person in the world that got scared by Carrie Part 2, man. I just want you to know that.
The movie sucked, but not so much being scared, but when the pool like cover comes over and and the people are trapped in the pool, like I think about how terrible that would be, because there really is no escape. And that's kind of how I felt when he's under the ice. But, he tells that guy, no, I don't need backup, before he charges in. And, he tells him, if you think I'm only one cop and the nearest cops are, 2 hours away, he said, but if you try and take me out, we'll have police helicopters and canines. And the dude just bursts out the door and kind of pushes him over. And, he's looking back at the guy and he's like, shit, usually that works. And then he tells the guy, I don't need backup. And then it ends up, he does fucking need backup, just like any kind of good buddy cop type deal, which there, like you said, it was pulse pounding, but also kind of that comedic back and forth between him and the guy who ends up saving him. And God, it's so good. Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off and go back into talking, but I love that opening.
I enjoyed it. I thought it was pretty good. I felt it was like a cross between Justified and Fargo. Like
nice.
The setting is very Fargo-ish, is very isolated. The characters and the main character, Jason Oliphant's character from Justified, he's like kind of a loner. He like does a badass who doesn't need help. Like he's a tough, hard guy. And I felt the main character kind of gave off those vibes, but the setting of the town and everything definitely had a Fargo vibe. If you guys dig like small town procedural cop dramas, this is definitely a book for you. It's got that small town, crime where everybody knows each other. Everyone knows that family. What was his name? Butch? Was that it? Butch or Buck? Buck. Like everyone knows that family's into crime and they're just trying to find something that'll stick so they can finally, do something about it. And everyone's afraid of them, but no one's willing to come out and say anything for fear of any kind of violent reply by that family. So it definitely has an interesting dynamic. It has that small town, everyone knows everyone's business, and and the main protagonist isn't even a local. He's a guy who used to live in LA, who's seeked refuge up in the isolated landscape of Alaska because he's running away from something in his past that wasn't quite revealed yet. So that aspect of the story is pretty cool. And there's a big reveal at the end that's, which was a great final page of it. Just, that fucking right hook, man. That was great. I love it. I don't want to give it away because I want you guys to read it. And it's a great little scene. And in the background, the guy's faces too is just classic. It was such a good, well-drawn panel. I loved it. It was such a great final page. So yeah, it's definitely worth reading. If you're into cop dramas and stuff like that, this book is definitely for you.
Well, it's a super solid first issue. I think if it was put out by Image, it would be a hit. You know what I mean? Like if it was an Image book and like it was available with variants, like everybody would be reading this, and Jay Faber or Farber would be like a huge name now.
Well, I was on Twitter the other day, and I think Jay Faber said the second issue, I think, is going to be releasing on Panel Syndicate fairly shortly, I think. Good. If I remember correctly. Because I was going through the Panel Syndicate Twitter page, and I was reading some comments and stuff, and I think Jay dropped the hint that the second book 2, is going to be coming out fairly soon.
Well, good, because I don't want to say it left a lot to be desired, because all my desires were kind of fulfilled, but it left me wanting more, like I said, and the dynamic before everything happens with Buck, the dynamic between him and the son that's still there, and then the other son finally comes back towards the end of the book, but the dad says something that I really love, and his dad said, "You're just gonna stand there, you're not gonna help. Your brother would have helped." And like you just get this sense that the younger brother who drunk in the bar and trying to fuck that dude up, and I've been shot before and it didn't stop me, and then his fucking brother yelling out, "It's bullshit. You ain't never been shot before." Like it's the dynamic between the characters were really good. I enjoyed this just too fucking much, man. I'm glad we're getting more of it, because it was definitely one of my favorite reads of the week for sure.
Yeah, the plotting was really good in this. The way they set it up, like the guy who shows up, who witnesses the crime, they show up and you think, oh fuck, maybe this dude did it, and they kind of come back to that, So the plotting of this story was really well done. Really solid. Like you said, it's just like watching a good cop drama, man, like on HBO or something like that, or a good Showtime cop drama. And this is but right in sequential art. It's awesome.
Yeah, and the cool thing is it's what 40 something pages. Like all the issues from Panel
Yeah.
Syndicate are way over the normal 24 page. Like you get, I think the shortest one we have, I think Friday was like 30 something pages long. But
Well, when
most
I
of
was
these
reading,
books are almost 50 pages each, which is really cool for a pay your own price issue. Like if I was going to
Yeah.
be like pay your own price, I'd be giving you 10 pages. You know?
well, this is the thing I was reading when I was reading up on Panel Syndicate is they want to give the creators the freedom to tell the story they need to tell without having any restrictions like, oh, it has to be 22 pages or it has to be 48. Like, use the number of pages you need to tell the story, plain and simple. Just make the book you want to make without any, like, you're the boss. So, like, it could be 22 pages, it could be 60 pages. It's going to be whatever they need it to be to tell the story. And it's plain and simple. And that's what, when I was reading up on it, and like, this is definitely a great place for creators to go if they want to, put a book out and get something out there. And
But, I
I
mean,
think Glacier City is definitely a good example of that. I don't know how well it's sold or anything, but if the second issue is coming out, then it's done well enough for them to put that second part of the story out.
Well,
I mean, I think that it's definitely worth anybody and everybody going and paying their own price to read this first issue, because they'll be blown away by it. Like, this is a badass little crime book, man. If you like crime dramas, this is right up there with the big ones that are Image and Dark Horse and the other labels are putting out, in my opinion.
We'll see, and I think another thing, we were talking about the accessibility of Panel Syndicate and the pay your own price, and to me, what that says is this isn't a money grab like we're seeing with Substack and a lot of the other stuff. This is guys that want to make good books, and they're putting them out. So I don't even know if it's really a sell well thing. I think it's almost not, I wouldn't say freelance, but it's these guys doing what they want to do with no constraints. Like you said, it's not your regular book links. And so I really think that this is kind of it's like a nod to the love that these guys have for the art and the medium itself. So I really enjoyed that as well. It's something different. It's kind of the same way that I really like a lot of the indie bands and stuff that'll put their stuff out for free. They do their own labels. They have all ages shows so anybody can come. And like, I really put this in the same vein as that, with the accessibility, but not just that, but the quality of these books is just, it's triple A, man. It's incredible. Like you said, it's something you'd see from Image, something you'd see from Dark Horse. And man, yeah, I was blown away by the whole thing. All of Glacier City, all of the Panel and Syndicate stuff we've read this week.
So yeah, if we didn't convince you to check this book out, like I don't know what to tell you, because this thing's fire, and it's worth you dropping $1.50 or whatever your heart tells you is okay to put in the box, because it literally just is open and you can type in whatever you want for the payment for your credit card, and it's liberating in a way, because I don't know, I almost wanted to try to put in a low number to see if I could get away with it, but I just I don't think my conscience would have let me. I would have had to rebuy it, you know what I mean, and pay more for it again. But yeah, like, just check this out. I mean, you have nothing stopping you. You can literally probably pay $0.25 for this thing if you wanted to be that low. So just check it out. It's so good.
Super, super good. Yeah.
All right, zipping along to the next one. This one's getting into kind of the more cartoony, funnish ones. We have Blackhand and Ironhead. It is a comic by David Lopez, colors by Naeong Kim. Script tutor is David Munoz. Logo and design by Christina Castan. English translated by Stephen Blandford, and English lettering by Fernando Fuentes. And oh man, where do I start with this one? It is just such a fun, cute book. It's very YA, I guess you could say, because it's youth friendly. It's a very youthful book. But I got to say, it takes a lot of really creative and tactful new ideas and places them into your superhero deconstruction type storylines. This one, of course, is about this young girl, Alessia, who is basically poised to take over her father's company, which regulates superheroes. Superheroes exist, that they've been around for decades, and they do fight and mess things up. That is why this foundation exists. And basically what they do is put on basically MMA fights between the heroes and villains. So that way, like, people can have their entertainment, they can have their heroes and their baddies without like the turmoil and destruction. But there's a lot of stuff boiling in the past that comes to head when Alessa's father dies, the guy that's leading the corporation. Right after she signs the papers to take it over, her sister Amy shows up, who is the daughter of a supervillain named Blackhand, who you find out the original Ironhead, Alessa's father, who is Amy's father too, had a relationship with. So she's a secret sister that nobody knew about, and she's just this really, really upstanding, don't give a shit soul sister, man. She don't care. She walks right up into the old man's funeral and just starts disrespecting the heroes and talking about how her she's kind of a caricature of a lot of tropes of certain people, types of people that are around. But I thought that she was handled very cleverly, and she was a really cute character. But basically, like, her Alessa goes up and headbutts her because she thinks she's lying at first, and they both end up at the hospital, and they kind of start talking, and they don't want to be friends with each other. And actually, Amy doesn't really want to be friends. The other one wants to have a sister, wants to have anything because her dad just died, and so like she's trying to do anything to appease her. They go to the foundation and they find out that all the superhero and supervillain stuff that they've cataloged over the years is actually fake, and it's all been replaced by duplicates, and the foundation's broke. So all of a sudden, like, everything's just shut down. Like, it's kind of chaos, and the two sisters actually do team up and have to team up mostly so Black Hand can get her mom's car back, because it has a Faraday cage that can actually shut off her psionic powers, which basically she hears electric fields all day long. Anything that has an electric field, it talks to her, and it drives her insane. So that's kind of why she's so bratty. But man, you just get so much more. You get introduced to this villain. She's kind of like a evil Shiva. Her name's Daikini, and she has really big tie-ins with the Superman character Titan, who is cursed, and it all ties back to this weird family arrangement and all this kind of corporate bullshit that just shows you that the foundation was built on misconceptions, like a lot of things, and basically the youth is going to have to build it again after this is all over. And I think it was just rendered beautifully. I love the cartoonist art style, which you get from European comics. So yeah, Mr. Lopez really nailed that. I mean, really gorgeous art. Joe, how did you feel about this one, since it was one of the ones you bought and kind of gave to me, and then I just really fell in love with?
Yeah, when I first started reading, I wasn't too sure about it. Like I started off, and you're introduced to Alexia or Alicia, a character, the daughter, or she's on the subway. She saves a girl, gets in shit because she's not supposed to show her powers, and you're not supposed to fight outside of the arena or the cage. So her father disciplines her on that, and he kind of runs every aspect of her life. You have to lose weight. You have to represent the foundation. So I was like, I don't know. But then he passes away. The funeral comes, and then you're introduced to Amy's character. And this is where the book really starts to get interesting, because she's quite a character, man. She just steals every page she's on. Her design is flawless. I love the design of this character. The little bow tie, the afro to the side with the shaved, dyed hair, written "no" into it. Like the design of this character is just flawless. I love the design of her costume and her get up, and she's got the glasses, right? Because otherwise she can freeze people or hypnotize them. So she has the green shades, and she's got these little hints of green everywhere. And she wears the gloves because if she touches people, she can feed into their memories. And she's just such a great character, a great design. So when she was introduced, I was like, oh fuck yeah, this book started taking off. Not that the other character isn't interesting, but she brings that kind of like, you got the straight man and the funny man type thing, and she brings the energy for sure. The pacing was really good. Once they get together and kind of decide, yeah, you know, like we're sisters, and the other one's Amy decides to help Alicia. It's pretty good. You got that buddy cop kind of back and forth, you know, where they don't really get along, but they do, you know, so you have the conflict a little bit between the two characters, and it definitely leads to some pretty great moments between the two characters, like some banter and back and forth. And I actually dig Ironhead's costume after, when she's like, oh, I can't fit into this fucking costume. And he's like, just put on some fucking spandex, like a jumpsuit or something. Then she dresses up, and I dig her. She's got like that fucking hip hop style breakdancing kind of get up, which is pretty cool. I dug her costume after, when she just goes straight like urban style. It's pretty cool. It's good.
Yeah, because she was trying to squeeze into like this power girl looking thing. Yeah,
that her father wanted her to lose weight so she could fit into it, and blah. Yeah.
Just like, put a tracksuit on.
Yeah, put a tracksuit on. Yeah. And I mean, and the Alicia, is it Alicia or Alexa? I can't ever remember if it's Alexa or Alicia. Anyway, her character made me think so much of all these people on Twitter, that whenever someone does something with Batman, Superman, Spider-Man, and they get on Twitter and, you can't do this because they're a hero, and they start lecturing on what you can and can't do with these characters. Well, she made me think of all these people on Twitter that just go on and just rant and rave about what you're allowed to do and what you're not allowed to do with characters. And she made me think so much of that whole corner of Twitter, the Twitter comics community, that just lose their shit anytime a character isn't like fits the norm, fits into this little box that they made that a hero should be, you know? And I thought that was kind of funny. I don't know if he did it on purpose or what, but it definitely made me think of that for sure. But yeah, man, the art's great, the story's great. Yeah, it's definitely worth reading.
And her always trying to get Amy to do catchphrases with her, hilarious, man. That was one of my favorites.
I was really blown away by this book. Like y'all said, it starts off in the subway where the two or the three guys are just like straight creeping on a girl in a headscarf, and they're saying things that, you know, just oh, you look so much prettier if you take this off. And then Alexia's just like, stop, you know, leave her alone. And then she just starts fucking him up. But when she dips and the one dude punches the other dude in the mouth, like, oh man, I thought that was super cool. And then, cause I didn't know what to expect. I thought it was going to be a team up type thing when I saw the cover. I didn't read too much into it before I jumped in. And man, it really does kind of turn the superhero genre on its head. You don't know what is what. And I mean, even up until the end, when it's getting, even up until the end, when you are finally starting to figure things out, you still don't fucking know. And so there's a lot of twist and there's a lot of really funny banter. I like that Amy just does not give a fuck throughout the whole thing, because anytime anything's going on, she's like, I don't care. I just want my mom's car. Like, just give me the shit. And then, you know, she's finally about to get the car, and she's like, this is a fake. And she's like, no. And she's like, no, it's a fake. I know, because it has a P300 Faraday cage, and I'd be able to stop finally fucking hearing all this shit and finally get laid. And I was just like, this girl knows what she wants with her life, and I like that. But the action is great. You've got the Titan character, who I thought was really good. He kind of reminded me of Erratic, you know, where you only have 15 minutes to save the world, but he's, you know, fought for so long and lost so much blood and has just lost almost everything, that now it takes, you know, 2 weeks for him to fight for 5 minutes to be powered up that much. And I really thought that they took a great I don't know, a different angle with the superheroes, because you get a lot where people do the superheroes and they try and do the flawed hero type deal, but like I really think that they nailed it with this, because kind of when you get to the end of the book, you realize that there's a blurred line between what a villain and what a hero is, and I thought that that was super neat. Like y'all said, the art, it does kind of remind you a lot of some of the European books that I've read, and it's got this really colorful, just almost. I read it on my tablet, which most of them are digital anyways, but it had a really like glossy look to it, and I just thought it was super fantastic, man. It was. There wasn't a single bad book that we read this week, and this was definitely like in the top tier of those books. It was so good. I couldn't put it down once I started it. It was funny from start to finish. It had some kick-ass action in it. The fights, and then when it gets to the end, and I don't want to give it away either, because I was so blown away, because in a lot of books I'll be reading them and I don't know. It's the same thing like when you watch a murder mystery on TV and everybody's trying to figure out, who did it before you get to the end. Like I was trying to figure out where the story was going, and I honestly just couldn't. From start to finish, I could not figure out where the story was going to go next. And books like that are really special, because sometimes you just know what's going to happen next. And this one is a superhero comic that just leaves you just stumped. It was done so well, man. So well. And like y'all said, oh, go ahead.
The humor was done so good too. I've read a lot of books where they try to do the humor where the characters are at each other's throat the entire time, kind of not disagreeing with each other, and it just kind of comes off cringy and uncomfortable to read. Whereas this, like the back and forth between the sisters is hilarious. Like they're both just so cute and well rendered. Like
it's
and
very charming.
They don't break their characters at all. Amy's always I don't give a shit, and how do you say it? What's the Alexa or
let's say
the other
Alexa.
sister? She's always just so. But I want to be friends, and we need to be good and do a catchphrase.
Yeah,
together.
but Amy comes off like she don't give a shit. But after I think the second chapter, you see she's like, oh well, you're not a bad person. Like I'll give you a hand. Like it. She acts hard, but deep down she's got a heart of gold.
Well, there's that scene where they're trying to sneak back into the Foundation, and like Amy's just like, fuck this, and she goes to hypnotize the guy, and Alexa's trying to tell her, oh, we shouldn't be doing that, it's bad, and she just straight up tells her, we're sneaking into the back door. You started choosing bad when you decided that we had to sneak in. Like, don't fucking give me your shit. And they have that sister dynamic, but when they're sitting in the cafe and they're talking, and Alexa's been told by her father she needs to lose weight, she needs to fit into this uniform, and even I thought that was super neat when her dad shows her the outfit, and she's like, I couldn't get 2 fucking steps in that. It's not practical at all. Which is something that gets brought up a lot, when they talk about the over-sexualization of characters. Like, what is the point of having body armor but cleavage, like leaving the one of the most vulnerable parts of your body exposed when you're supposed to be all covered up? I thought that was really neat, and the whole just put on a tracksuit. But they're sitting in the restaurant, and Alexis constantly commenting on the fact that Amy is just this scrawny, girl who is just constantly eating, and she tries to explain, oh, my powers burn up so much energy and this, that, and the other. But then like there's the whole scene with the fry, and then there's where they're at the cafe and they're kind of talking back and forth, and Amy is still really bitter about her upbringing, and fucking Alexa tells her, I don't have my father anymore, and she's like, I never fucking did. And then that's really when their bond starts to get, go with it. And the scenes were really done. Nothing felt out of place. Everything felt very I guess I don't want to say fluid, but everything felt very real.
Fluid's a good I think fluid's a good term, man.
They vibe like you imagine sisters would, they fight like siblings, but they're also still getting to know one another. And I thought that the way that it showed their relationship from the start to finish and how it develops, I thought it was very natural. And it's, even at the end when she fucking Amy's like, you know what? If you want to stick with those cocksuckers, I'm out of here. Bye. And then Amy comes back to save her, and so good, man. It was refreshing, honestly. You get a lot of the same kind of stuff from the big two when we're talking about superheroes, and when you do get a good superhero book from one of the indie things, it kind of falls into the same line. But this one was goofy and funny and just really, really well done. Like the ear car. The sonic ear, and she tells her, "Oh yeah, and this thing flies," and she's like, "Does it really fly?" Oh, fuck, I don't know. And then it turns out that it does, and it was just, I thought it was really, really great. I'm surprised people aren't talking about this book more.
Yeah, because it's adorable. I mean, like, it's one that anybody could probably get into and read, unless you're an asshole, in my opinion.
Well, the second arc, I think there are 2 issues into the second part because it's continued, and I think the second one just dropped, or the 3rd issue just dropped recently on Panel Syndicate. So they're into their second arc, which is good because this story was great. And I love how another aspect of this book is they put themselves in the other one's shoes. Like when they're talking to understand them, they put themselves in each other's shoes. And that's, by the end of this book, they get a better understanding of each other because they stop and listen when the other is talking and be like, yeah, I didn't think of it that way. Like now that you tell me and we've sat and actually had a conversation instead of just fighting all the time, they get to know each other, and, you don't know someone till you've walked a mile in their shoes, right? That kind of idea. They explore this here where they each put themselves in the other's shoes to try to understand where they're coming from. And I love that part of the story.
Well, that, and when she tells her, well, we got to go out and find who did this, and then Amy's just like, all right, detective, where the fuck do we start? And she's like, you don't have a fucking clue, do you? Like you said, it's adorable, it's cute. The banter between the two keeps you engaged because it's funny when it needs to be funny, it's serious when it needs to be serious, it's kick-ass when it needs to be kick-ass, and it's just very, very well done, man. I was blown away by this book. I really was. It was.
Another thing I loved is they don't explore their sexuality. Like, they don't come out and clobber you over the head like, this person is that or that person is that. They make little hints at it, but they don't come out and actually tell you, like where she says, "Oh, I could finally get laid," but they don't explore it as much. And I don't know if they're going to dive into more of each of their personal sides and relationships in the second arc, but I love that they didn't just come out and clobber you over the head like, this is what it is. And like, I think it brings a more natural pacing to it for that aspect. Cause I think a lot of books now, they're too heavy-handed with like, oh, it has to be this sexuality or that sexuality, or they're bi or they're gay or they're straight. It's upfront, and I find it's too heavy-handed now. There's no subtlety in it anymore. And I like a story that has just a little bit of subtlety. It adds to the mystery and the exploration, and it leaves something for you to find and discover as you're reading. Like, I love that, instead of right away clobbering you over the head with it. Like later on, it could be like a part of a reveal, like, I figured it, like you have a hint, and to get that gratification later on is awesome. And I love that they didn't come out and clobber us over the head.
I think that might be why this book really reminded me of Strangers in Paradise. Because I got a really strong vibe of that in this book, and I think that might be one of the main reasons too, is because it kind of kept that same type of vagueness with things like that.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. They definitely have that Kachu and what's the other girl's name from Strangers in Paradise?
Fuck.
The main girl, I can't remember, but they definitely have that kind of vibe. Not, well, they're sisters in this one, not best friends, but it definitely has that camaraderie and that back and forth, like it definitely has that vibe to it, like that fun two girls just, it's good. It's really good. Everyone should go read this, like, for sure.
You can get the whole first graphic novel for whatever you want to pay for it. Go get it, man. This thing is mad fun.
Go download it now. Stop watching our show and just go fucking go on Panel Syndicate and go download it now.
Don't stop watching our show. Don't listen to Joe. Keep watching. Get it afterwards.
Yeah, I give it fucking 2 thumbs up, man. I love this book.
Yep, 2 horns up high for me as well.
Yeah, definitely. It was, while I said not a single book we read this week was bad, on the list of how I, enjoyed them, this was definitely number 2. We're going to get to number 1 a little bit later on, but this was the second most enjoyable book from Panel Syndicate, in my opinion.
I have a hard time, man. Like, I think there's 3 that I enjoyed almost equally. Like, I'm having a hard time deciding which one is my favorite. Really, seriously. Like,
well,
I don't know.
The one
I can't pick. I can't pick.
Yeah,
probably
it's tough. It's tough.
This one might be because I knew nothing about this book before opening it and reading it, and it just wowed me. You know what I mean? A lot of the other ones, I knew the creators, I knew what kind of to expect from them, but this one, like, I went in totally blind, and it blew me away. I just had a total blast with the utter cuteness of Blackhand and Ironhead. Just really, really solid, fun book.
Yeah, same here.
Get it.
Go get it.
Pick it up. Go download it. Or upload it. Download it. Whatever.
You can do both. Ooh. So I guess we're going to be moving along. Does everybody have their final say on Ironhead and Blackhand?
Yep.
Pretty much. All
right. Well, I guess, like Johnny says, moving right along. We're going to be talking about one of it's something really, really special. We're going to be talking about Barrier. Now you can get it from Panel Syndicate. I, before I even knew about Panel Syndicate, had picked it up a couple of years ago in the physical copies, which are still done in landscape, which I thought was great. But the next book on the docket is Barrier. This is from Brian K. Vaughan, Marcus Martin, and Munsa Vicente. And this book, it is going to require a little bit of it's a little bit more than your regular read, because half the book is in Spanish, half the book is in English. But you can download the Google Translate app. It even has where you can put your camera on it and it'll translate it for you. Now, it's not going to be exact translations because it is done kind of in the slang. Like, what you see as proper Spanish is not what you're going to hear or see a lot of the times in Mexico or Honduras or Guatemala, which is where most of the characters are from. But Barrier, this is... you don't know that it's going to be an extraterrestrial book from the jump, because the barrier that you think it's about, which being the border or the language barrier in it, it becomes so much more than that. And you've got, speaking of the language barrier, you've got Liddy. She is a South Texas rancher from far Texas. And then you have Oscar, who is he is from Honduras, and he is leaving Honduras to come to America. From what you'll find out later, both have gone through really, really traumatic shit. And then this unlikely team up with a language barrier, where these two characters run across each other after some things happen on Liddy's farm that leaves her suspicious, thinking that some cartel members are going to be trying to take her land, that they're trying to send her a message, Don Corleone style. And it's very, very well done, because after she's, paranoid that the cartel is going to come and try and take her cattle and take her land and then use her land as part of their running trail, she meets Oscar, and she meets him with the barrel of a gun pointed at him. And there's obviously the language barrier there. And then the next thing you know, they're captured by a UFO. The first issue actually is the title of it was no, I'll pull it up or I'll read it to you so I don't mispronounce it. But Nos Llaman Coyotes, which is something that is said by one of the coyotes at the beginning of the book, which is such a great little monologue that he gives, where he says, they call us coyotes. He says, but they think of you as dogs, but you're really just helpless sheep. So we're not coyotes, we're shepherds. And then it is some when you see a lot of Oscar's story, there's a lot of the violence and brutality that is currently ongoing and has been in some of the Central American states for years now. And when you find out what his backstory is and why he's well, he was already trying to get away, but what led him to run away as fast as he could, it's heartbreaking. The same thing with Liddy, but they are caught up in this spaceship, and the aliens also speak a different language, and you've got just that language barrier, and they're trying to work as a team when they have trouble understanding each other, and they come together to fight back against these aliens on their spaceship. And there's just it's really well done. And in fact, I think my favorite part of it is, and you don't get this a lot in books. It's hard to do. But issue 3 is a completely silent issue. Let me hold that up a little higher. It's a completely silent issue because while they're on the ship, the aliens go to speak, and when the aliens speak, it basically bursts their eardrums. And so it's not that the issue is silent; it's that both characters have been rendered deaf during this issue, and it's so well done. It's I think wow God, what book were we talking about last week? Where the first like 10 pages were done without. Yeah. Oh yeah, Wacomo. Where it was done, where it wasn't so much silent as it was just showing the action. While this one is definitely silent, and it puts you into the character's kind of point of view, where it's not silent in the sense that nobody's saying anything. It's silent because the characters who you're seeing the story through cannot hear. They've had their eardrums busted. And I know Joe liked it. We get Padingers and Full Frontal throughout the thing. I think Brian K. Vaughan does nudity very well. There's a line from, I think it's the second issue, where she finally finds a pair of pants. And she's like, good, now I don't have to be going across the universe with my cooter hanging out. And it's funny. And by the time by the time they've teamed up and they've kind of put aside their differences, albeit the language barrier still being the one big difference, like it really is. I almost want to say heartwarming how the characters bond, even though there is that language barrier, because it's kind of universal almost. The way that they end up interacting, and she understands a bit of Spanish, he understands a tiny bit of English, but the back and forth between them is still really good, although most of the time it's them, he'll say a whole ass sentence and all she'll pick up is muerta, and she's like, no, we're not dead, like this can't be death, because if we were in hell, Wyatt would be here to greet me. And that's another thing. You get into the backstories in issue 4 as they're fighting back against the aliens. You finally see kind of what led them to be these broken, tough people that they are. And one of the things when they wrangle the fucking alien in issue 4, as they go and try and negotiate with the other ones, and she's like, oh, I've wrangled tougher bitches than this, and she's such a good character, just that tough South Texas breed. And I know that sounds weird if you're not from Texas, but growing up down in South Texas, it's a whole Texas has like 4 different types, and South Texas is it's a different breed down there, and it's a tougher breed, man. Like, everybody from Texas thinks they're the toughest, but South Texas is no joke, dude. It's hot, it's dusty, it's fucking awful for the most part. And the people who make their lives down there doing the type of work that Liddy's doing, it makes for some tough some bitches. And she really portrays that super, super well. I enjoyed this from start to finish. It is done in all landscape. And God, the ending of it. How about that fucking ending? I said you had to kind of go in more where you're having to translate the Spanish if you don't read in Spanish. But the ending of it ends with Arabic. I'm not going to give anything away, but they do finally get off the spaceship, and then they're put into a whole different type of what were a whole different alien world. And God, it was so good. What did you guys think about it?
I love Marcos Martin's art in this a lot. Like, you didn't touch on it, but like the way he draws like the alien craft and like the aliens themselves, the scenes with the interactions and stuff. Oh my God, they're just so glorious. The colors pop. I mean, everything is just so lush in this book. It really, really. I didn't expect it to be sci-fi. I thought it was going to be a horror book of some sort because I got the first two issues at the same time, and the second one has a bone on it. So I was like, okay, this is going to be some kind of like border horror thing. But yeah, I was thrown for a loop when it became a sci-fi book. But it is pretty horrific too. It's a good sci-fi horror, and yeah, you just get these really great characters and these really great social issues, which, in my opinion, Brian K. Vaughan is one of the best guys that approaches these things from a tactful angle and tells a good story with them without being preachy. I really enjoy his social books like Ex Machina or Pride of Baghdad. You know, he's really, really good at handling big social subjects and being very diplomatic about it, not being preachy or, you know, really over heavy handed. And I think that you really nailed it with this one because, like you said, it goes in really far with different cultures and acceptance of them, and blended it into this sci-fi horror thing, which is also a metaphor for itself. So yeah, dude, just excellent stuff all around, man. And yeah, I think it's really funny how a Canadian writes Texans better than Texans ever can. Like that's another really funny thing about this book.
You're not going to get any arguments from me, mostly because fuck, you look at Chris Condon, who's doing That Texas Blood, and he's from fucking New Jersey, and he writes that kind of West Texas. You know, I was talking about breeds of Texan. You got the weirdos up north in the Panhandle towards Johnny's area, which they're basically Sooners anyway, and we don't care.
There ain't no Texans anywhere near California. All right,
Okay. Sorry, you are from California, but you're an transplant Okie right now, and those North Texas Panhandle people are weird. But you know, like I said, Brian K. Vaughan really did capture the essence of that South Texas tough, stern, hardy people is the best way to describe them, and he did really well. And I didn't touch on the art, but like you said, I think that is the best word to describe it, is lush. Those greens and pinks and purples and blues all mixed in together. When you see the aliens, and they just, that was the alien design, man.
He actually made them glow without using like glowing paint or something. Like when you look at the pages, you can literally see like the aliens glowing, even though like it's not. It's really good coloring and really good artwork all around, man. Pencils, shading, all of it. It's just pops. Like when.
What do you think about? Oh, go ahead. I'm sorry.
Yeah, it just pops when you get to those interactions with the extraterrestrials.
Well, and the I say the lettering, when you see them speak, and it's the greens and pinks in their speech bubbles. I thought that was really neat. But what did you guys think about the alien designs? I thought that was, you know, I think we talked about it when we went over Attack the Block, and how a lot of the times with the alien designs that we get in a lot of modern media, they kind of tend to take after that.
H.R. Geiger.
Yeah, the H.R. Geiger typical alien that you see. And I really thought that this was something just when the otherworldly. And I mean, I know that they're aliens and whatnot.
It reminded me a lot of those old hand-painted sci-fi books from the like 1960s and 70s. Like that kind of art, just really, really streamlined, like with the alien designs.
I thought it reminded me a lot of it. You might not enjoy my comparison, but Independence Day or War of the Worlds, you know, like with the long arms and the like a bug-like, you know, or a jellyfish type design. You know, it had a very jellyfish, like a orb on the top with the long, skinny tentacle legs and arms, and yeah, it definitely had that kind of vibe to it. I really enjoyed this book. I went in blind. I had no clue what this book was about at all. I know you guys had read it, but you only mentioned it in passing. You never elaborated much on it. So I went in blind. And, you know, I read the first part and you're like, oh, okay, the horse head and all this. And then you think They lead you to think it's going to be like this drug cartel crime story. And the little Mexican guy or whatever, her farmhand, who she sends out to check the fence and the gate, like along her property, he he's the one who says, I think it's aliens, right off the start. And they just kind of brush it off like, oh, you're just you and your fucking chupacabras and your aliens and this and that. And she just kind of, kind of like just brushes off his hypothesis of what it might be. And then come to find out it is fucking aliens. And I love the introduction, the way it's introduced with just the light flashing down you don't see. But I love, if you notice in the panel before, you have the blimp that's floating in the distance with a light coming down. So when that light hits, you think it might be that blimp that's just coming over past, because she did go to the border patrol and ask if they could position a blimp near her. So you think maybe he just did her a favor and the blimp is coming. But no, it's actually a fucking alien spacecraft that's teleporting them up into the mothership. And like you guys said, I love the organic design of the ship. It looks like a piece of wood with moss growing on it. It's such a cool organic design. Yeah, it's really fucking cool. Yeah, it looks like a rock or a piece of wood with moss growing on it. It's really, really cool. And like you said,
the lush colors, man, the greens and pinks. Sorry, Joe.
Yeah, pink buzz colors.
And I read a couple of his other books, Marcos Martin, and I loved his art in it. And then in the early going on this one, I was like, oh, I'm not too sure, man. It felt like he was on a tighter deadline. He was just working faster. I wasn't digging the art as much. But like you said, once he does those in the spaceship, oh man, does the art just hit another level once he starts drawing those pages. I think he was just anxious to get there, and he just fucking blasted through those first pages so he could get into the nitty gritty of all those alien pages. Because man, there's a shift in the art and it just pops. And there's one part of the book in the alien ship that I really love is where they light the lighter and then the spaceship goes all crazy and you see the CMYK palettes are off shifted. And I love that effect. It gives such a beautiful, amazing effect. And it just popped. And then like, boom, and it happens again. I love those scenes in it. That was so well done. Yeah.
I'll pull that up here in a second. But yeah, that's the alien design.
Yeah.
And let me pull out issue 3 and I'll pull out the lighter scene. And I think that's a really good part in the book as well, because after, they've had their confrontation on the ranch, and then, she comes out in the ship and she's butt-ass naked. And, she's trying to they're both trying to just calibrate themselves and what the fuck is going on. And she's got her horse's femur bone that she's using almost like a club, and she just comes out, bush out, fucking femur in hand, ready to go. And then he finally finds his backpack, and she dumps out the contents of
the lighter. Yeah,
and
when they light the smoke is when they figure it out. Yeah.
Well, that's what I was saying. You see here, and she's kind of going through everything. She drinks the Coke. She drinks the Coke, and then she's looking back at him. She passes him the Coke, and then she sees the cigarettes.
Cigarettes,
and
or the cigarette.
It's this panel right here where she holds the cigarette up, and he looks at her, and he just gives her the thumbs up. But she lights the lighter, as you can see. And then this is what Joe is talking about here. As she goes to light it, it's almost like the old 3D. Here, let me pull my light down.
Yeah.
It's almost like the old 3D films where, let me pull my light back up, where you kind of see it, like the color palette shift.
Yeah.
It really just gives you a sense of almost like TV static, which is kind of what in my head I was imagining when she goes to light it.
Yeah. Such a beautiful effect. Such a beautiful effect in the book. Yeah.
And that goes into that issue 3 is the silent issue. And I think that they really kind of give you, while it is silent and there's no talking, it creates this soundscape. As you see everything kind of shift out. That's their whole world is fucking shaking. And I just like I said, it just reminded me of TV static. And I thought it was just really good, man. The art in it.
And just put yourself in it's Libby, I think. Eh?
Liddy,
Put yourself
with
in D. Okay.
Yeah.
Put yourself in Liddy's position. You fucking wake up, buck ass naked, beside your fucking beheaded, skinned, dead horse. Like, what goes through your fucking mind when you wake up? Like you must be, your mind must be racing in panic mode, like 1,000,000 miles a second. Because, man, what a freaking shock that must be.
Well, and we see them, you know, the skinned woman from the waist up in one part of it. But I thought one thing that was really interesting was when Liddy catches Oscar at the beginning of the book in the first issue, it is because he has fucked his leg up. And
because
when
he fell in the trench, yeah.
Yeah. And when he gets onto the ship, the aliens shoot this like plasma at his leg and heal his leg. While Liddy, on the other hand, got hit with some blue slime and it ate all of her clothes off. And so they were both experiencing different things, but I really thought that was neat that they healed his leg. Because I was kind of
those aliens are comic gators, you know. So yeah, they're gonna get canceled. Those aliens are getting canceled, man.
We're gonna get canceled. We're going to get canceled just for bringing them cocksuckers up. Not the point. The book was fantastic. I think we all really enjoyed it. And like we touched on before, this is I got the physical copies.
I have one huge complaint.
What is that?
And that is
Johnny has a complaint.
On my physical copies, they're about an inch too tall for the bags, and part of them sticks up, and I'm always worried that they're going to get a little bent. So I got to baby the issues. That's my number one complaint. Yeah, like the books are actually a little taller than your normal comic book size, and yeah, I'm a little worried. I don't put them in the white box. I have them out on a special shelf just because I worry about them. That's my only complaint. That's not a bad one.
No. I think I've got 3 of the issues in the regular bags, but I've got some of the Silver Age bags, which were a little bit taller, that holds them a little bit better. But yeah, like I said, I paid $4 an issue, and it was definitely well fucking worth it. But you can go on and probably get all 5 issues for $4. I'm not telling you to pay more. The books are worth more. But that accessibility, and like I said, it is a little bit more difficult because half the book is in Spanish, but that can be overcome pretty quickly with Google Translate. Like I said, even on the if you're reading it digitally, you can take that picture and take it straight to Google, and it'll translate it. But just phenomenal storytelling throughout the whole thing, man. I love it.
But they do give enough clues in the interactions so you can follow, even though you're not, because Liddy definitely, she knows, like you said, some. So when he says stuff, she kind of, oh yeah, this. So you know kind of what was referenced to. So they handled it really well. The only part where you might get lost is in the beginning, where they're loading up all the people into the truck when they're in Mexico or wherever it is they are, where it's all just straight up Spanish, the whole 3-4 pages worth. Then you might be a little lost if you can't read Spanish. But aside from that, the back and forth with Liddy and Oscar is really well done, and you should be able to follow it even if you're limited in Spanish.
What I thought was a nice shift, though, was in issue 4 where they're trying to I wouldn't say haggle, but negotiate with the aliens, and the aliens shoot out their tentacles and kind of connect their minds. And when we see Oscar in Guatemala, where it kind of tells his torturous backstory, which was just fucking harrowing, man. Like especially me having a kid. Like I don't know, I get super bummed out when I see bad stuff happen to him. But when it switches to English. And so, you see him walking down the street, and he's singing his little song or whatever, and then it allows Liddy to understand him. And I don't know if y'all saw it. It was one thing that kind of popped up to me is the aliens are obviously doing trials. They kept on thinking that the aliens were holding them like cattle. But after the aliens go into their minds and kind of merge their minds together, once they come out of that, the aliens are sitting there speaking fucking Spanish.
Spanish, yeah.
And I really thought it was less of a torture or cattle type thing, and more of learning, trying to find out what is out there, which is a really good. What word am I looking for here? It's a really good way that the story kind of comes together, because they're all just really trying to find their, get over those barriers, those language barriers, the land barriers and stuff. And so I really think that the aliens were less of, these evil characters, and more so they were looking. Oh God, what word am I looking for here? It doesn't matter. The aliens were exploring. They were trying.
No different than us, because I remember in grade 10 or 11 biology, you'd dissect a frog. So how is it any different than another species coming and finding us, putting us on a slab, and opening us up to see how we tick? It's kind of the same idea. They're not monsters, unless you consider us monsters for having our kids dissect worms and frogs in biology class. I mean, it's the same idea. It's in the name of science. So they're doing all this, like you said, in the name of their science, to understand other species better. And, it isn't malicious, I don't think, at the root of it. It's more towards, education, learning, enlightenment.
Yeah. And you said that, like, are we the monsters? Well, you look, and the monsters in the book are the people. When you see what happens with Oscar in back home, or when you see when Liddy, and I'm not saying that Wyatt was a monster, but like he had, she says it wasn't anxiety, it was terror. And when you see what happens with him, like those, oh man, the emotions in this book really, really range a lot. And when you finally see, like I was saying when we started talking about the book, that both of them are these tortured souls, but it has done nothing but make them stronger. And I hate to say it like that, because what happened to them was tragic, but tough times breed tough people, and Oscar and Liddy are two of the toughest people that you get in comics today, in the sense that, they wrangle aliens with what they find. They're resourceful as fuck, and they don't give up. And dude, they're just great all the way around, man. I loved it. Super loved it.
Yeah, it was. And I think like going in blind like that, I think I might have enjoyed it more that way than if I would have known. So maybe you guys will enjoy it less now that we kind of spoiled it all for you, but it's still very good regardless.
I wish Image would put out a hardcover for it like they did Private Eye, because the Private Eye hardcover is just so glorious, and I'd like to have this as a companion piece to it, because it really deserves to have like that kind of panache, in my opinion.
Was the Private Eye hardcover, was it kind of oversized, considering that it's in landscape like this is? Because I know these comics are a little bit taller than normal, but was the Private Eye hardcover bigger than a normal hardcover, or no?
Well, I mean, it's definitely wider. It's about lengthwise, it's about the same size as the 300. It's just not as tall as the 300 hardcover is, if you've ever seen that. But it's as long as it.
Okay, so kind of what's that David Rubin book? Hotel. Shit. David Rubin did a book through Image that was done in that style, where it was the same height as a regular book, but just longer. And so, yeah, I would definitely love to see Barrier like that. But I don't believe that Brian K. Vaughan has any interest in putting out a collected edition.
Yeah, they put out a slider box for you to keep your 5 issues in, which is lame. That's lame. Give me a hardcover, bitches.
I don't mind slipcases, man. I enjoy slipcases.
Whatever.
See, that's the only way a non-hardcover collection is the only way I'll collect them is if it comes in a slipcase. Otherwise, give me a hardcover. Because I don't keep any of my trades. I unload them. But if you gave me a slipcase for them, then I might start keeping them.
Fair enough.
Joe likes it hard.
I do. Harder the better.
Zipping right along. Next up is Joey's pick, and it's another really slam dunk with just amazing art by Marcos Martin. We'll definitely get into that after Joe kind of delivers his opening statements on this masterpiece. Get at it, boy.
Well, this was released during the pandemic, which was a nice little when comic shops were closed, and Ed Brubaker. This is a Friday by Ed Brubaker, Marcos Martin, and his partner in crime, Mutsa Vincente. So this was released right in the middle of the pandemic, which was pleasant. And this was Friday #1 was my introduction to Panel Syndicate. This is the first time I went on the site. I downloaded this book. I donated. I don't remember how much I paid for it originally. It must have been $2, maybe $3, something like that for the first issue. And man, I was really surprised. I loved it. A pay what you want type scale, and you got this quality of a book was just amazing. And I fell in love with Panel Syndicate right from there. I love the concept. I love the idea, and this book just nailed it home for me. For my first book from this site was the perfect book for me to get me hooked on this. So Friday is the story. It's a kind of a post-YA, I'd say, kind of story. It's of two young adults. One is named Friday, is the girl. She goes away to college, and this story begins on her first weekend back from college after she leaves. And she's dropped back into town off a bus, I believe, or anyway, she comes back into town, and right away she's greeted by her childhood friend named Lance. And right away, these two, from their young ages in this town, were kind of a crime-solving duo, kind of like Sherlock Holmes and, what's the girl that solves crimes? The YA
Nancy Drew.
Nancy Drew, yes. It's a very Nancy Drew vibe-ish kind of story where they just solve these mysteries in their towns and solve these not murders, but maybe crimes or unsolved mysteries. Anyway, they're a duo, and this is what they used to do. And the duo got broken up. The band broke up because Friday went back to school. So now she's back in town. And what's Lance, the first thing he does when she's back in? Let's go solve this mystery, right? So right back into the old routine. But there's a little twist in this little story, because before she left, something happened between her and Lance. And she would like to address this issue and have a little chat with Lance about it. But nope, he's not having it, man. He just wants to solve this mystery like nothing ever happened. He doesn't miss a beat. He's like, let's go run in the woods and try to find clues. And, it goes on this way. And she has this huge dilemma on how to address this, how to confront him about it. And you have this duality to the story of, you have the mystery, which drives the story forward, but then you have the true bones to this of their relationship and how it affects this new mystery going forward. And let me tell you, this is just 3-issue. The first arc is just 3 issues, but man, these first 3 issues hit hard, especially on. Are we going to spoil it, or are we going to not spoil it?
It's up to you, man. You cover as much as you want. I don't want to give away the end of the arc because I think it's going to be powerful for anybody to get to it.
Like, this book took me for a loop. Like, I didn't think he was going to go here, and he did. And I'm not going to say what it is, but man, it hits hard. And I think it's definitely worth a read, man. Originally, the first book was supposed to be these 3. Like when I read the story, he was supposed to write, the first book was supposed to be condensed into one. These 3 books were supposed to be condensed into one chapter. But as he started writing and started exploring it, and he was like, no, I've got to expand this. So yeah, it's a great story. It definitely pulls towards the YA a little bit, but it's definitely a much more adult themed story as it progresses. You'll see that it's definitely covers some pretty heavy subject matter, and the art in it is amazing. Marcos Martin, I love his style in this one. It's got a very like European graphic novel style, like hardcore, like kind of like a lot of the maybe not quite like Tintin, but kind of in the
Yeah,
same
that's what I
style.
was gonna
Maybe a
say.
little less.
It's more detail. It's like a more detailed Tintin, is what it,
Yeah,
like with a lot
yeah,
more detail. Yeah.
yeah. But I love it. It's really beautiful, and the color palettes are just perfect. Like it's subtle, it's simple, but it works so well. Uh, Ed Brubaker is just a master at like just the way he paces his stories. He doesn't rush it. He doesn't make it too slow. It's just right. Like the pacing is perfect. And man, if you're a Brubaker fan, I think this would be probably a little bit of a change of pace for maybe what you're used to reading of his. And I think you'll probably be pleasantly surprised by it.
Yeah, he kind of takes it back to his older style. I mean, I know a lot of people are more know him more for his newer style, which is a lot more hard edged, like the stuff he does with Sean Phillips. But when he was younger and he did books like Catwoman and a lot of his more whimsical things, this is kind of a throwback to that. But I got to jump on that Marcos Martin art because, dude, like how gorgeous was that town that he draws? The town, and then like when she's doing her memories, but she's remembering their little cases as old novels, and they actually have the old book covers for like these kind of Encyclopedia
The
Brown
flashbacks. Yeah.
yeah, but they're rendered as these classic book covers, and I just loved how all those were illustrated, and yeah, and just I loved the way he did the snow, especially when she rides the sled down and she's almost remembering the good times before you get that gut punch at the end, and it's just lovely to look at. I really really enjoy the way he draws the town and the lighthouse and stuff. It's just visually stunning. Like all of the books we're going to talk about by Marcos Martin have great art in them, but this one is his best. I mean, like
Yeah.
Joe said, like chef kisses to the moon for the art in this book, man. Just totally gorgeous. And yeah, I really like the character Lancelot Jones. I think he's kind of an ass, but he's a person that's only had one friend and only really known one person his whole life. So I don't know, in a weird way I kind of understood him. Like he was a really neat character, and I understood Friday too, but I don't know what she expected from that kid because he's so isolated and so sheltered, and she wanted normal life, and he wanted to be Sherlock Holmes. You know what I mean? And it was really cute the way that they kind of did their reconnection and still disconnection, but despite whatever she wanted, like she couldn't not help him, and I thought that was just really wonderful. I thought that like that really set all the characters in a good tone, in my opinion. You know what I mean? Even though you thought that she was being a little little I didn't like the way she handled certain things with him, but I think that the way they kind of displayed her character really made her understandable. You know what I mean? I got her plight too, as
Yeah,
well, and I
because
thought,
she's growing as a person, and I think in this she feels like Lance is just stuck, like from when he was like growing up, and that he hasn't really evolved as much as she's like gone off to college. She's becoming maybe growing into a different person, and she probably feels like he's just still stuck in the same routine, the same rut. Like maybe that's where the disconnect, like you say, they're growing apart, and I think she's sad about that. Like she feels like they're growing apart, and she's sad about, it happens to a lot of people, like your childhood friends, you move away, or things happen and you just grow apart. And I think that kind of touches on this a little bit in this book, where that natural, it just happens. It's sad, but I mean, it happens to a lot of people. Most people actually experience this, and it's a good way to kind of delve into it and explore it a little bit, the emotions that you feel when you start drifting apart from someone that you cared about and loved. It's not easy, but sometimes you just can't help it, because you're going on one path and the other person's going on a total another one, and you just, it just wasn't meant to be.
I also like the names. Like the dog's name was French Fry, and like the bad guy's name Weasel Wallace and stuff like that. It had some pretty cool, like kid pulp detective type stuff going on, as well as like the more mature-ish themes to it. Ed nailed it, man. Like Ed is just really solid with everything he does. But it was really good to see him do something somewhat whimsical and somewhat supernatural too. Like at least this one seems like it's at least has a supernatural twinge. I don't know if it's
A little
actually
bit,
going to be
yeah.
a full-on
Yeah, we don't know
supernatural
yet.
thing,
Yeah,
but
yeah.
there are hints that there might be like witchcraft involved, which is neat.
You guys ready for it? This was my favorite fucking book from Panel Syndicate. And it's surprising to me. I know I said earlier that I would tell y'all my favorite one when we got to it. Issue 1, as it started up, didn't particularly grab me. But with that being said, issue 1 was more impactful as you got to issue 3. Issue 1 was really the setup for the story, and I think it set the story up very well. But by the time you get to the end of it, which, like I was saying with Glacier City, I wanted more. And not that I wanted more out of the story, but I wanted more because it leaves you gut punched and fucking just it is.
And we're going to be getting more, because if you read the letters page at the end, they're working on what's coming next. So it's amazing news that we'll be getting more of this, because it was very good.
Oh my god, it was so good. And Johnny touched on how great the art was, but the thing that to me was my favorite was those the pages that I guess I'd call them exposition pages, where it almost showed like the Nancy Drew or the Hardy Boys style book covers, where Lancelot Jones and Friday solve the case of the lime caverns or whatever, and like, man, I was so by the time I finished it, I was so drawn into this whole universe that Marcos and Ed Brubaker had created. It was, oh my god, it was so good. I almost don't even have words for how much I loved this fucking story. And then there's little parts where there's when she goes to the lighthouse, which of course Lancelot fucking Jones and his father live in a goddamn lighthouse because he's that quirky fucking weird character. But she goes to go see him after she finally gets an idea where she goes to talk to him, and he's left her a note, and she's like, "Oh, you presumptuous dick." And like I thought that really showed not only Lancelot Jones' character, his personality, but it shows how great of a character that he is, because Johnny, like you said, he is kind of a dick. He's kind of a know-it-all. He is very he is so obsessed with solving the next mystery, and
he's got a singular focus, very singular focus.
And you see that when him and Friday have their thing that kind of not really drives them apart, but sets them apart. When she tells him, I'm not a fucking case for you to solve. Like, I'm not a case. Like, just answer the goddamn question. And the complexity that you get from Lancelot Jones in just 3 issues is a lot better than you get in some of these 12 and 24 issue runs of big series. This to me was a perfect fucking story. She's talking with the pastor in town, who, as far as she knows, has never given a fucking sermon. And just all the characters were quirky and great. That when she
I like that he let her have a drink out of his flask too. She's like, "How old are you?" 18. He's like, "Okay, but it's single malt. Be careful."
But keep it our secret. Don't tell anyone.
Well, that and all the characters were super fleshed out, and I think it's we talked about the length of the books and how some of them are a lot longer. Like, I think most of these were like between 30 and 40 pages each for 3 issues, but you get a real good sense of these characters. She's coming back from college, she's left, and in that second issue where she's talking about how they were always together, and she, always kind of thought it was something more, but she didn't want to ruin their friendship, so she just wanted to be one of the normal girls, so she didn't, go to formal with him. She went with another dude, and then, spent the whole summer dating him, even though she was never into it. And then I'm tearing up just thinking about that scene where she's leaving, and after everything that happened, he shows up to see her off. And like, oh wait, no, he didn't show up to see her off, did he?
Yeah, he did. They hugged and stuff, but like, they didn't really talk.
Exactly, and it left this space and this kind of hole in her. And so when she's coming back, all she wants to do is, if not move forward, at least put it behind them and just be the friends that they always were. And I'm trying to get
okay,
around.
Meg Ryan. I'm going to go into my favorite scene, which is probably Joe's favorite scene too, just thinking of the subject matter, but it's when they met. Like the flashback to that. She's new in town, and she's out on the pond playing some damn hockey. When all of a sudden there's these bullies, and like this guy's threatening to drown a kid. So she skates over and straight up slap shots this jock right into the nose. And she's standing there with the stick going, I'll whoop your asses too. And you can tell everybody an 8th grade girl did it. And she got these bloody knees, and she just looks like one of the Hanson brothers. And like, I was just like, yeah, dude, this girl's pretty fucking awesome. And and then like, I like how Lancelot Jones never changed his look his entire life. He looked like that when she met him when they were little kids, and like he still looked like that when she got back from college.
Well, that scene
Jeff Goldblum looking kid.
That scene is so great because after she saves him, he tells her, well, what's your price? Because I'm going to hire you. She's hire me. He's like, yeah, I'm going to need a bodyguard. And oh God, the characters were so great. I absolutely love Lancelot Jones. I thought he was such a good character, and like I said, I'm trying to beat around since we're not. Anyway, not the point. This is a great fucking book, man, start to finish, just incredible.
Yeah, stay away from being the little brother that has to tell the end of the movie this time, Goose. Like,
this book, it just made me think so much of like just growing, like the stages, like when you have that stuffed animal you had your whole life, and at one point you grow up and you got to put it away in the box, and that's kind of like her and Lance, like he stays the same the whole time, like you said, from when they first met to now. He hasn't changed at all. He's still the exact same person, and she's growing as a person and kind of has to let go of that to move on. And I kind of feel the same way when you put these childhood things away. You put them away, it's kind of like that, it's kind of a sad, it's kind of a sad and heartbreaking little moment in life. Is she
going to be able to?
Yeah.
That's the other question, though. Is she going to be able to put these things away? Because she's getting drugged deeper and deeper into this the further it goes. Because there is a great mystery to it.
But that's the beauty of the story, though. Like, it's so it's intricate in its simplicity, right? So.
Well, I connected with it a lot because actually it's Friday. Yesterday, when I was at work, I got a message from a friend that I haven't seen in several years. We went to college together in Mississippi, and like she sent me a message out of nowhere with a video of me and her, like from one of our first nights in college, where like we had been drinking and we'd raced in this parking lot because I was, the braggart that I am. And I was like, no, I'm totally faster than you. And she was like, no, I could kick your ass in a foot race. And like, she sent me that video and we got to talking, and it was one of those things where it was like, when did we get so old?
Who won? She won, right? She kicked your ass?
I kicked her fucking ass, and I've got video evidence to prove it. She could beat my ass now because she joined the military like a year ago. And like,
that's why she sent you a message. Now she's ready for a rematch.
Yeah,
that's why she's reconnecting. She wants to show your ass up.
She could. She definitely fucking could. She could probably whoop my ass in more ways than one, not in just a foot race.
Shit.
But no, and so I get it. Yeah, and I get it, that whole like having to grow up and move on and things changing, because that was one of the things that we had talked about, like when did we get so old? Because it seems like yesterday we were just kids in college, 18 with the whole world ahead of us. And
let me tell you, man, you're only 25, so
Yeah.
we'll have this conversation again once you're my age.
Yeah. I turned 40 on the 9th of September, so yeah. And Joey's older than I am, so
yeah,
slightly.
I'm 44, so yeah. Once you hit 45, we'll have a nice little talk again and see.
I'm 27.
See how you look at life.
Yeah, when we were talking about the Judgment Night soundtrack, and it was a year. It's a year older than you are. I was just like, oh Jesus, man! Like, talk about feeling old, having a goddamn millennial on here.
Yeah.
You know what?
Well, are you even is Goose even a millennial? I think he's too young to be a millennial.
He's a Zoomer. You're
no,
Zoomer.
God no. I was born in '95. Millennials are '84 to '95, and so I'm at the cusp.
Okay, you're just you don't know what you are. You're on the, you're between the two.
Yeah, I'm generation lost, baby. But speaking of another Buzz Bites thing, somebody posted a meme today, and it was a picture of Trent Reznor standing next to David Lynch, and I went, "Oh, I know what that's from. That's from the Lost Highway soundtrack." And I didn't say that, but I thought of it. But back to this incredible book, man. It's 3 issues. They haven't put it in a volume like they did with Private Eye, but it's
coming out.
Yeah, it's going to be beautiful too.
It was in this. It's a hardcover that's coming out by Image, and it was in this month's solicit in the Diamonds previews. So get that pre-order in. It should be out in October.
Yeah, well, I'm gonna have to do that. I'm gonna have to do that soon because Jesus, this, like I said, this was my favorite book out of all the Panel Syndicates that we read, and a lot of it had to do with when I first cracked it open. Man, I didn't think it was. I really thought it was kind of gonna be like a YA title, which it does kind of fit into that category, but I didn't. Once it goes into the layers that it goes into, and then this shit's got layers, bro, and it's incredible. It was my favorite read. I'm probably going to go back and read it again tonight just because I want to catch stuff that I missed. Because
you want to cry. You want to cry in the shower, Meg Ryan. I know.
I don't even need a shower.
I need a good cry.
I'll spoil the shit and cry on this show. Don't do this to me. I'm not going to spoil it. I will cry.
Goose doesn't cry in the shower. He drinks in the shower.
Yeah, and plus, I only cry when I masturbate. Yeah, I need something to lubricate. So, there you go.
Jesus.
Okay. All right.
Okay.
Hey, you know me, guys, I'll suck a fart out of the devil's ass. Anyways, we'll keep going.
Oh my God.
Too bad he wasn't on Buzz Bites, man. He'd have been a fan of this movie. That movie.
Yeah.
And devil farting in mouth, but
just blame it on the devil.
But last but surely not least on the docket, we have the book that kind of started it all for Panel Syndicate. I absolutely love this book. I will always treasure this story. I love it so much. This, of course, is my favorite book by Brian K. Vaughan, and he's going to have to work really hard to one-up himself with this one. This, of course, is Private Eye, with art by Marcos Martin and his partner in crime, Munsta Vincetti, and oh my God, this book is just glorious. It has all my favorite hallmarks of pulp noir thrown in with this really glorious kind of post cyberpunk future type thing going on. And basically this story is about a world where the internet had a big leak where anything anybody ever thought was private just got released to the world. So there's no internet anymore. People don't really use cell phones or anything like that due to the lack of any type of privacy. So to be more anonymous, the entire population of the world wears disguises or has these VR cloaking devices that cover them in these really cool personas. And we are taken on a journey through this world with a private detective that's only actually known as PI. and he kind of takes on these odd jobs, and he smokes Marlboro joints, which I love. I really wish they'd have them, or at least would release a package like that. I would love to own a green Marlboro package. But he has a really cool tech jacket called a dream coat, which is kind of like an active camouflage. He can go invisible, and it can cancel out like all kinds of signals, so nobody can track him. Well, he gets given this case, like this really cool like tiger person walks into his room. It's actually a girl named Taj, and she's asking him to look into something, and he's like, oh, I'm kind of busy, the normal PI type shtick. She ends up being murdered, and then her sister Ravina, who is this total little redheaded fiery badass, comes and hits him up and like, dude, like, you're the last one to talk to her. Something happened to my sister. She was hanging out with these weirdos anyways. And they end up getting attacked by these French twin assassins in gas masks. They kind of look like the Rocketeer, kind of, but they're all bonsai'd out. And they just kind of have a crazy trip from there. Like, PI gets the tip of his finger shot off and reattached, and then they go and hide out at his grandpa's house, who is probably my favorite character. His grandpa is this senile old millennial covered with like arm tattoos, and like he's listening to Eminem and playing Call of Duty and wondering why he can't cuss at his friends. And like PI has to tell him like there's no internet anymore. You're playing Call of Duty by yourself, Grandpa. Oh, dude, it is utterly hysterical. He also has this driver. She is really cool. She's really cute. She kind of reminds me of Friday in a way. She really wants to be a PI like him. And there's one getaway scene where she's in her little bug, and she's wearing this McDonald's bag as a mask because she hasn't found this cool persona for herself yet. So she's rocking this McDonald's bag as a mask. And oh, it's really cool. And basically we get taken on this really, really killer pulp noir epic about the internet and anonymity, and what it means to basically learn to be yourself in a world where most people are afraid to actually show what they actually look like. And I think, like I said before, Brian K. Vaughan is one of the best people in the world when it comes to tackling social issues in comic books, and he goes through so many in this one. This one tackles race issues, LGBTQ issues, all kinds of body issues, all that stuff in a very, very complex manner, but it keeps it all fun, and it really, really nails it all home. I think that he should just be applauded for this. It really is his best work, in my opinion, because he fit all that into just one graphic novel.
Yeah, it was really good. I really enjoyed this. Like you said, my favorite character was definitely the grandpa. Like he steals every fucking page he's on, like, for sure. And my second favorite was, like you said, the assistant who puts the fucking McDonald's bag on her head. That car chase scene has to be one of my favorite fucking car chase scenes in comics. It's so fucking good. It's so funny. She's like, no, I can do it. And oh man, it was good. She was great too. Those two characters just stole every freaking page they were on. So I love those two characters. Those were, and we get at least one Pedinger in here. It was
yeah.
I'll admit it's a very small Pedinger, but it was a Pedinger regardless. Yeah.
Also, like the grandpa kind of helped him understand how to use a smartphone, because there's actually a scene where PI needs to learn how to use one, and the grandpa actually.
Well, they get an old iPad too, don't they, or something? And they're trying to get clues off it. Yeah. And like, oh, you need a charger. You need to charge it, and they're trying to find an old charger for it. Yeah, there's just a bunch of little things in it that were just great. And how like the police are more like paparazzi, are kind of like cops. Like they're the ones who investigate and try to. That was kind of funny, and like how it's just reverse technology. Nobody actually has internet anymore, so they're not connected like they used to be. They're only connected through media, which was kind of interesting, right? So it's the media dictates how we communicate with each other, more or less. Like they're the ones who decide what gets put out there and what doesn't, and it was definitely an interesting and fun read.
Well, when I read the title is Private Eye, and as it opens, you've got our main protagonist, and he is, doing the creepy spying on the woman thing as she's starting to come out. And he's like, yeah, take it off. And I was just like, what a fucking creep. And then when you see the paparazzi, kind of not paparazzi, but when you see the cops come around, I really thought we were going to get a story about that cop with the little piece of paper in his hat, authorized to use force and all that stuff. I thought that's who we were going to get the story about. But when it switches it up as when I saw him put on the dream coat and start to walk off, I was like, oh shit, here we go. And you've got these it's a really weird society. And as I was reading it, I was looking. Oh, go ahead, Joe.
It's funny because you say, oh, take it all off, and you think he's a creep, but he just means the mask that they all wear, right? To reveal the true self, not take off the clothes, take off your persona mask, right? So we can see who you really are. So like you think, oh yeah, he's just spying, trying to get dirty pics. No, he's trying to get her real identity. Or was it a he or a she that was a guy pretending? I can't remember. But anyway, yeah. But that was cool. That was a cool part, yeah.
And you get everybody's wearing these masks and these personas and stuff, and the way that the world looked, because it's set in the future, it really reminded me a lot of Transmetropolitan. But a lot of that with that first thing, the woman that he's taking pictures of. The woman that he's taking pictures of was he was sent on that job that was this guy's high school sweetheart who, and he's equally fucking creepy. He comes back into the story later on, but there's so many little funny things, like when Taj walks into the office and she's wearing the tiger suit. He's like, oh great, a fucking furry. And like, he's like, oh, I bet you're just a creepy dude. And she's like, well, you helped Ravina. And he's like, yeah, because she was hot. And she's like, I can assure you I'm a looker, and like takes off her shit. But like, and I'm just going to agree with y'all's sentiments. I think I told Johnny in the pre-chat, like the grandfather was my absolute fucking favorite. And like, y'all called him a millennial and we just had this chat, but like I related with him. He's sitting there and he's trying to use his fucking cell phone, and the grandson's like, none of that stuff works anymore. You don't remember the cloud busting? He's like, well, back in my day, we lived without secrets. And then like that's kind of where it gets into the story, where there was a cloud burst and everything, and they go to explain it wasn't the messages, it wasn't anything, it's the internet searches. It was what people thought they were searching for in the private, in their own private time. And that's what was ruining marriages and stuff. And you've got, we talked about the two French twin assassins, but we did. Oh, what's the main villain's name, Johnny? Do you remember off the top of your head?
Snap. No, I don't remember his name, but man, what a great plan he had. Like when I got to the actual dastardly villains plot, like this thing is just so clever. What is his name? I'll keep looking. Yeah, go ahead.
But this scene where his assistant comes in, you look really tense. Would you like a blowjob? And he's like,
would you like some oral copulation? Yeah, sure. Yeah. That sounds nice.
Yeah, why not? And isn't that how the chapter ends?
Yeah,
or something. Yeah, I was like, what the fuck?
And then it turns out that he's the guy who's running, the big the television, because the whole TV thing. And oh man, so we get back to our main character, old Patrick Immelman, PI. He gets so pissed off after the French assassins come in because they burn his fucking record collection, and that was something that stuck out to me because I always. When you see books or when you see records or movies or posters in comics, I really kind of try to examine them. And he's pulling out like the Flaming Lips and all these other like great vinyl records. And I really enjoy that because it reminds me a lot of the scene in fucking iRobot when he gets the woman to his house and she's like, turn off. And he's like, you hit the button. She's like, what? It's not ran off of, voice. So he's got, go analog, baby. You're so postmodern. Fucking, he's really living that life. And, I don't watch much TV and this, that, the other. And I just really like it because it shows, like you said, the cops are really just basically shit tabloid news journalists. and they're not good at investigating. I mean, shit, we see everything that's going down, and he really is playing that perfect stereotypical noir kind of private dick. And no, I loved it from start to finish. This was one of those books that, you know, we talked about before, and I kind of biffed it on not reading it, and I was a little bit upset because I really would have loved to have talked about it on our noir episode. But I think in hindsight, doing an entire Panel Syndicate episode was definitely incredible, because this
it worked out to be very fortuitous, man. Like it was a good thing you forgot to read it, to tell you the truth.
Well, thank you, Johnny. You know, my fuck ups are what make me. But it really, and you even when you get to the end, oh my God, with the guy that they end up beating the shit out of, and is like, hey, this black dude looks like a cracker. Like, what the fuck? And and then there's the whole library scene where the library is federally protected. And so, like, you know, you can't get into the library to see what other people are researching or searching for on the internet. And privacy is a really big part of this whole book. And I think it's very telling about how our society is now. Because, I mean, fuck, nothing's really private, you know? Like, and that's why I think that,
because being a private investigator is actually illegal.
Yeah.
In this world. Yeah. So, like, that's why yeah, so that just nails home like you said, the privacy thing is so protected that even being a private investigator where you're trying to dig people's secrets becomes illegal in this world, which is pretty cool.
And I think it really parallels how we are as a society today, especially because, like, there really is, like I was saying, there really are no secrets anymore. Nothing you do is really private. There's whether it's on your cloud or, you know, you think it's hidden on your computer or whatever, like, there's nothing so deeply buried technology wise that can't be uncovered. I mean, you see all the time.
People are so transparent that criminals are so stupid that they film themselves committing crimes and post it virally. Like, come on, fuck. It's
dear all Pink Buzz fans, if I have one little bit of advice, and if you don't have to listen to me on anything, but here's the one piece of advice you can take away: don't Instagram your fucking crimes. What the fuck? I'm saying, like, look, I grew up in the era where the internet was really starting to become popular, and dude, like, you know, we all kind of get away with some shit. And the reason we got away with it is because we weren't posting it on fucking Facebook. We weren't posting, oh, look at how much money I got from this drug deal on goddamn Instagram. How are you supposed
to at least create a pseudo fucking account or something, you know? Don't use your fucking main account. Jesus Christ.
Yeah, I've got email set up and all, but that's the thing, man. Like, when people are, how are you going to invade the fucking IRS when they're watching your Instagram, bro? Like, goddamn it, that's how they got Al Capone. I know syphilis got Al Capone, but the IRS got Al Capone first. And so, like, that's one thing. Go ahead, Johnny.
Do you guys have any favorite personas or outfits, disguises in this book? I'd have to say mine is the guy that at the beginning the PI was doing the job for, the dude in the sweater vest and bow tie with the goldfish head. Like, that is probably one of the coolest characters like I've ever seen. Just the goldfish mask, that it cracks me up just looking at it still. Like, do you guys have a favorite in the book? Or
when you asked that, mine went straight to the dude with the goldfish head. That or the guy in the suit of armor at the mask shop.
He straight up had like a full on knight suit of armor too. Yeah. Oh man.
Definitely a wacky book. Off the wall concept. I mean, it was really interesting read. For sure.
And that goes back to what Johnny was saying about how Brian K. Vaughan does such a good job commenting or doing these social commentaries, because it is, like I said, it is parallel to what's going on now. Because think about it, man. If like all of your secrets or if your search history, dude, if my search history ever got out into the real world, I would just hide in a fucking closet.
Well, yeah. Well, the thing is it was relevant when he put it up, but it gets more and more relevant the further on we get. Like, I mean, look at what, like, that actor Armie Hammer, like, he's done just because people found out he looked up cannibalism a couple of times on his, you know what I mean?
Well, I mean, this is a result of cancel culture, right? So many people are starting to leave Twitter and all these social media platforms because, you know, putting all your shit out there, it always comes back to bite you in the ass. You might make a harmless little comment and someone's gonna fucking screenshot it for later on down the road so they can pull it out and fucking, you know, like, there's so many people looking just to bite someone else in the ass that, like, more and more people are leaving social media because of, like, just how much people overreact over little instances that maybe are a little bit not irrelevant, but man, come on. Let's keep it in perspective, right? Because they blow it way out of perspective.
I think about it like this. In 20 some odd years, not even 20, in like 15 years, 16 years, when my son's allowed to get on social media and stuff, like, I would not want him to go back on my Twitter and see half the shit that I've said. I mean, fuck, how many times a week do I post pictures of my ass? At least once. It's great. But, like, I don't know, like, you know, like the grandfather said, we didn't have no secrets, we didn't have no shame, we didn't have nothing to hide until the fucking cloud burst and you find out that me and Armie Hammer are fucking searching up the goddamn how to cannibalize folks. Let me bite this person on the neck for a little bit, just a nibble as a treat.
But I mean, it is. It's even now, like, it's the weird little things that people do that really seem to set things off. So the book is hyper relevant because it was the searches, it was the history, it was the fact that the husband looked up cannibalism. You know what I mean? On his off time, that got the wife thinking, like, he's gonna eat me. You know, like, I don't know why you'd be looking that shit up anyways. But whatever. I don't think that it's necessarily like scary or evil. I mean, it's. I don't know. It is what it is. You know what I mean? Like, I'm not gonna advocate for it either here, cannibalism, looking it up. But
yeah.
Well, I mean, fuck, dude, Jameson's still running hard. The liquor, the whiskey, in whatever time that the grandson of John Jameson went to fucking Africa and paid to have a little girl devoured. You know, they're still doing well. So I don't know what's happening. I hate that story. If you haven't actually heard about that, I don't mean to get us off topic, but the founder of the Jameson Whiskey Company, his grandson, like, paid for an Aboriginal child to be eaten and then, like, drew pictures of it. It's pretty fucking sick. But yeah, you know.
Jesus. Thank you, Goose.
You're welcome. Little tidbits of knowledge.
Yeah.
And everybody knows knowledge is power.
You might need to, like, work on.
Is that factual though? Is that just like?
No, it's like 100%. Like, he drew about it, he wrote about it in his journal, and, like, brought it back, and then everybody was like, they actually tried to cancel him, and they did a pretty good job.
How long ago did this happen?
This happened in, like, I want to say the early, like, 20s or 30s. This is pre-internet, but Jameson had to come a long way to scrub that from their image. I'll send you guys, like, the links and stuff from where I was.
I never even really. I don't know if I've ever even heard of them. I definitely never drank Jameson. So, are they like a good whiskey or?
Yes, Jameson is an Irish whiskey. It's made. They've got a bunch of different ones, but they've got this Jameson quarter cask that's been aged like 10 to 12 years, and God, it goes down like fucking spring water. I stay away, like, Jameson and Guinness. If you mix them together, it's called a Boilermaker, and it is my.
I'm not that virgin of a drink. I quit drinking when I was 24 because I drank too much, not because, like, I had no idea what to do. Like, I know what a Boilermaker is, their geniusness.
But it's the proper way to do it is with Jameson. Jameson is very good whiskey, and it's relatively inexpensive in the sense that you can get.
Yeah, South punk rock
for like $30. I mean, you can get a fifth of Old Crow for like $5.
You're glitching. Wow. I used to drink SoCo 100 proof when I drank whiskey, but yeah, I was cheap.
Well,
but let's get back on topic, man.
Sorry. Cannibalism.
Marcos Martin, like always, his art really shines on this. I'd say it's somewhere. It's really kind of close to his work on Friday. It has a European style to it, not quite Tintin, not quite like a Mobius style too, but like somewhere in between the two. Like if Mobius tried to draw Tintin, like you kind of expect it to look like the art in Private Eye, which it's just a glorious book. The coloring is really wonderful, and it's just like this really nice, pulpy, gritty, dark noir tale, but it's just so bright and colorful at the same time. I really like that aspect of the book as well. As kind of a last touch that I wanted to put on this. Anybody got any last words they want to say about Private Eye?
Yeah, well, you were talking about his art. I really the design of everything from the dream coat down to the nyms.
Oh, I want a hoodie of the dream coat, man. Just give me a white hoodie with that grin on it, man, on the back. Like I would rock that like every cold day.
It's brutal, and on the subject of the art, I mean, the way that they do the action when after he wakes up at his grandfather's house, and like the last thing you saw when the two French assassins go to shooting and whatnot is like him, he just like wakes up, and then it does that scene, and it shows him where he like sticks his hand out and it shoots his finger off at the same time it's grazing past Ravina's head. Like the action was so just, I'm trying to think of the word, like it's just
crisp.
Oh man, yeah, man. And you really have a sense of it in your head, where I feel like some people, while they do great art, they have trouble with those transitional like things, like with a gunshot. Usually it's just the gun firing, and then the next thing is the person lying there dead or whatever. But the way that he did it, where it really looks like an action sequence from a movie, just the way that they come in through the windows, as great as Brian K. Vaughan's storytelling is, the storytelling that Marcus Martin did with his art was just fantastic, man. Art wise, this was definitely the best book of the bunch. Like it's so crisp and so clean and so beautiful. Man, I loved it.
Yeah, I mean, another great book by Panel Syndicate. Like you said, they put out a hardcover. I don't know how easy it would be to find now. But man, go pick this up. Either pick it up through Panel Syndicate or try to find the hardcover, man. Yeah, I don't think you guys will be disappointed. So go pick this book up and go look into all these other books we've been talking about on Panel Syndicate, because they're all worth your time and money.
Yeah, and whatever you want to pay for, me too. I mean, like we're talking about, you could go buy all these books for I mean, like if you want to be a dick, for $10, you know what I mean? Like, or you could get them all for under $20, depending on what you want to pay. Like my bill would probably be closer to $20, but like I already own the hardcover for Private Eye, so that would save me a little bit. But yeah, if you can get the hardcover for this, I know it's a little pricey, but it is thick as hell. It's got lots of really cool bonus materials to it, but it's also just the optimal way to read this book, in my opinion. It just looks so beautiful. Of course, it's definitely one you're gonna have to set down on a table and read because of the shape of it. But aside from that, like, oh my god, it's just a beautiful volume to own. I can't recommend getting the hardcover for this enough. If you can, I don't know how much it costs. If the out of print demons have it and it's like $500, like then wait for it, because they'll probably print it again. Like it's that good of a book that I would assume a reprint would be due in sometime soon.
Yeah, well, especially if we're getting some more. I imagine they'll reprint it for the upcoming, like they do sometimes. But man, that's another thing. If it is super expensive in the physical format, then fuck all that and just go and get it in digital, because you can pay what you want. But I imagine it is extra beautiful having it sitting in front of you on, like you said, on that hardcover. So that's what I'm gonna have to look for sure.
All right, you guys got any last words, or are you guys ready to wrap this baby up?
I'm ready to put a bow on it.
All right. 2.5 hours though, you guys. Right on. We gave Panel Syndicate a good show. They got lots and lots of praise tonight. And I really hope some of you guys check some of these books out because we did not cover a bad book. I don't think they have one on their website. So definitely check them out. Their Pay What You Want is phenomenal. It's a really neat, innovative idea, I think. And yeah, this is Pink Buzz, a product of graphic vandalism. That means don't stop reading, don't stop watching awesome movies, and don't stop listening to excellent music. Take it easy, y'all.
Have a great
Justice
week
for
of reading.
Patrick Floyd, baby.